Alicia Robertson is a certified life coach, an author, and a keynote speaker specializing in empowering women through life's challenges and transformations. As the founder of Lemonade Life, she merges her expertise in mindfulness, positive psychology, and neuroscience to guide women in navigating significant life changes like divorce with grit and grace. Alicia's mission is to break the negative stigma surrounding divorce, empowering families to thrive through their experiences, and fostering positive change on a global scale, one family at a time. Alicia's got an audience of over 30,000 on social media. She's got a popular blog and a newsletter called The Squeeze, and has been featured on Family Talk Radio, Cityline TV, Toronto's on Women on Top, and Thrive Global. So, you know, she knows what she's talking about. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm so excited to be here today.
Me too. Now, I've interviewed my fair share of divorce coaches, and I am a huge believer in the support that they can offer during the divorce process, not only to save money and be more efficient, but also just to manage the emotional and logistical parts of the process. But you're here today to talk about divorcing well, which is, to me, like next level. So I want you to tell me more about what you mean when you say divorce well.
Yeah, thank you. I, in fact, get the most feedback on this statement, and people come at me with, this is impossible. And I say it's not, because change is inevitable. So everything that we do within change is a choice. So first, it's that mindset. I will work through this in a positive way. What we know scientifically and what correlates the most through our experience through adversity and in life beyond is that if we have a positive experience through that adversity, we will fare better through and beyond. So it's so important that how we do anything is how we do everything. So what I know is that if we have the opportunity to get the logistical stuff, that new project that we're trying to figure it out, let's face it, most of us have never done divorce before, so that we can unload the decision fatigue and the mental burden of what this overwhelming process is logistically, be informed, have clarity, have a clear project, a strategy, right? That game plan, then we can focus on what matters, which is healing, learning, growth, focusing on ourselves and prioritizing our family. And that's how we divorce well.
One of the things that discourages me sometimes in being these communities online, divorce support group communities, and I hear women talking about their divorce experience, it discourages me when I see a woman who seems like she's letting her divorce fund her entire existence. And that this huge negative event that she never wanted to happen is now suddenly her entire identity.
Yeah, I see it a lot. In fact, I was there. I was there when I was at my rock bottom, my crisis, which now I know was the beginning. That was the awakening, where I had a choice. Either I could stay in the victim, martyr, jealousy, shame, blame, highly stigmatized area, and one of the predominant narratives that we have out there, or I could take a leadership role in my life. I could have full accountability and responsibility for how I got myself here and how I was going to get myself out and through to the other side. Sticking really grounded in the fact that, hey, it's okay. We can be both. I know that I can navigate crisis, do tough stuff. Pain is temporary. I am positive. I am resilient, resourceful, capable, all of these things. While I am also experiencing the toughest, most vulnerable, overwhelming emotional struggle in my life, which is the uncoupling of my relationship and the loss of what I thought my family would look like. So I think it's really important that we observe and be aware if we're stuck in a pattern of behavior or identity that isn't serving our highest potential, that we be accountable and that we find the skills, the tools, and the resources to shift into something more intentional that is serving us in a positive way.
So you mentioned that your own experience with divorce really helped shape what you're doing in a divorce space. Can you share anything about that experience with us just to give us a little glimpse into you and who you are?
Yeah, for sure. When I started this, well, my background was in organizational development, executive coaching, mentorship. So this is not a new space. However, when I was going through something unfamiliar, like my divorce, in a really emotional time, I had a 4.5-year-old and a 6-week-old and was in the midst of postpartum anxiety. It was about how am I going to survive? And so I really started this journey of taking care of myself first and really started to work into what became both a personal and professional journey. And so, what was I wrote a book. I just wanted to help women to navigate this space a little easier than what my experience has been, to shorten that learning curve. And when I went out with the first book, realized there was an overwhelming need in this space for women who want to do better through divorce, not let it define them and take any more time than it needs to. And so this is how Lemonade Life became, right? And so that was an incredible opportunity that came out of an incredibly vulnerable place in my life that now is a shared experience and resource for other women.
But if I'm a woman who is in divorce and it's overwhelming, it's upsetting, it's very emotional. I hear people talk about how you're going to be starting this wonderful new life. Divorce is an opportunity, all of these positive things. I think in some ways that can sometimes feel discouraging because she's going through the hardest in her life, and people saying, put on a happy face and pretend that things are going to be great when you get through it, when it's all over. But I do know that you say people really can thrive through divorce. How do they do that?
Yeah, so I like to keep things real and accessible and intentional. So the thing is that we what's so important is that we are aware of exactly where we are, what is coming up for us, and where we want to be in any moment so that we can make very accessible choices with compassion and forgiveness first to ourselves. So it's a lot of buzz, like you said. Oh, well, you just hit the gym and find these groups and start dating again. All these, layers of conversations that are added pressure and entirely unhelpful. When I'm here to say what matters most in the beginning is that we prioritize ourselves. When we prioritize ourselves, we start to rebuild self worth, healthy boundaries, so that we can really elevate our energy at a rest and recovery level. So, if what accessible is to wash our face, rest, light a candle, breathe. There were days in the beginning that my word of choice was breathe or calm or peace. To have these really simple strategies for rest and recovery, because those simple strategies are about this progress over perfection. That every time we decide that what we need is to make the bed, to put our hair up, to sit down and have a cup of tea, we're actually building the confidence we need that we showed up for ourselves. We met ourselves exactly where we needed to meet ourselves so that we could feel better in this moment. And sometimes that sounds oversimplified. When I'm dealing with clients, they often want to, take big swings and "Hey, I'm going to start walking and hiking and, take Zumba classes and all these things." Well, when you're going through crisis, when you're going through one of the most challenging experiences of your life, I'm here to tell you it is far more simple than that it matters that you show up for yourself in really small ways, small and accessible.
I think just taking time for yourself is one of the most important things I've seen women doing. And they say, how can I? I've got the majority of child rearing responsibilities now as a single parent. I'm trying to work full time, maybe 2 or 3 jobs because he's not being support. I can't make ends meet. And you're telling me take time for myself. And I'm saying, yes, like literally 10 minutes before you go to sleep at night, where you are just sitting with yourself, giving yourself a moment to breathe, do something you enjoy, whether it's mindless scrolling on your phone or whether it's drinking that cup of tea or it's just being cuddled up in a blanket. So important to just do that type of simple self care. Hmm.
Totally. I surrounded myself with plants so I could take care of something else that soothed my soul. The blankets, the slippers, like you said. I made playlists. I made playlists for my mood. So if I wanted to feel calm, I had a playlist I could just turn on. If I wanted to feel inspired, I had a playlist I could turn on. If I wanted to be in the moment of healing, right? We can all take time to just be where we are. What is the pain? It's okay to sit with the pain. The only way that we're going to get to the other side is if we let this move through us. So, what is the playlist for when I'm feeling low and I just want to have a moment to cry and have a little bit of a pity party? That's okay.
Right? Or even that A playlist where, you get the song that are heavy beats, naughty words, insulting to someone, or the playlist where you want to feel victorious, like you're going to come on the upside and be a winner. Like there is such powerful things can happen with your mindset, with music or whatever it is that you enjoy. Okay. But there's already so much to do and focus on in divorce. How am I to get motivated and stay motivated to rebuild my life as I'm going through this? I'm trying through the day to day.
Yeah. So, what's awesome is that, focusing on what am I learning, who am I becoming, right? This is always an opportunity for learning, for healing, for growth. So that's great. We got our highlight reels. This is I won the day, right? But we also have those hardships. What are the hardships? Well, the hardship right now is divorce, served up on a silver platter. The awesome thing about divorce is that it's a hardship that is unavoidable. You may not want to, but you have to do this thing. And it is from the hardships that we actually can create the most internal self motivation and discipline that we need to do the very thing that matters the most in our life. Because the cost of inaction is actually making us unwell and unhealthy. So, even for all the things we're talking about, even if there's simple decisions we're making and simple strategies that we're putting into effect, the blessing, if you will, about divorce is that it is the motivator that is going to give you that intrinsic motivation to be able to do the things that you want and need to do.
Well, I'm not an expert in what you're an expert in, but I will tell you one of the things that I find motivating is having a coach. So I'm not going through the divorce process, but I am, constantly developing my business. And I have a coach that I work with who help keep me accountable. We meet every 2 weeks. And I am always saying, okay, in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z in my business. And all of those things are about progress, not perfection. So they are all about making steps toward the business that I want and the life that I want. And when we meet, he helps keep me accountable. And that keeps me motivated. So I think a divorce coach like you could be a really great motivator in the process.
Yeah, the thing is, we do an onboarding call. And so often it's very few people. I think it's under 10% of the population that actually establishes vision, values, goals, timeline, action plan. And so, quite simply, this is where we start. What I believe in so much is that this is both. It is both a project and a personal journey. So, we do both. So for me, we start with what is the vision? What are your values? Who are you? And what are the goals? And just by mapping out those goals, if you do one session with a coach, as I'm sure you know, and map those goals out and then never look at it again, it is in your subconscious already. It's in your sight of line. So the thing is, you already are moving in an intentional direction according to what you've just become aware and have identified as what are your priorities to move forward in the next, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It's incredibly not only accountable because you might have a person that you touch in with or a group that you touch in with on a consistent, regular basis, but just to have that personal accountability map.
If I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, oh gosh, my only goal is to get divorced. Are you talking about goals? Can you give us some examples of goals that women have as they're going through the divorce process?
Yes, I love this part. So, most of the women who I serve are coming from a place of contemplating separation and divorce. They're already separated of their choosing or not of their choosing. And then fewer more that are already divorced but not thriving. And usually when they show up, they need the divorce thing, right? I have to share the news with my partner, family, children, friends, extended community. I would like to move out and start living independently. I need to become financially independent. I need to become prepared for legal. So those are usually the emerging themes and categories that I see. The women that get that sorted quickly, right? Those are things that we can come up with both a plan and a communication strategy for. And those become the marching orders as we move forward. In there, when we talk about family, you have co parenting, blended families, right? Solo parenting, single parenting. So there's a lot of emerging themes that come out from those categories, but we start to work through them one by one. The interesting part is what we actually coach on, what I'm actually in service of as a coach is self worth, healthy boundaries, communication, and confidence. So, in all of these things, these are the simple, effective strategies that we uncover in everything we do.
Wow. So you think that there are some truths about divorce that people must understand?
Yeah, the biggest truth is that this is something that is with you forever, though it may not define you. Okay, but it is with you forever. This is one of the most hardest, massive life changes that is grief. Okay. And the truth, though most don't want to hear it, is that it isn't easy. And that if this is the decision or the turning point of where your life is at, that it is almost impossible. That likely you are making a decision from a place of trauma, domestic violence, generational cycles of family dysfunction, mental health. There are so many reasons why coming to this decision on behalf of your family is incredibly impossible and important. The women that I serve are breaking down generational cycles, all with one purpose: to model greatness for their children. And so it really is coming to a place of understanding that you don't need to justify, make excuses, make other people feel better for why you've arrived at this choice. Knowing that the truth is, this is almost impossible, but is also the very thing that likely is going to save your life and that of your families.
Wow. Okay, so one final topic that I want to touch on is co-parenting, because I know for many women in divorce, successful co-parenting seems like this elusive dream. They've got all this conflict with their spouse. They can't imagine a peaceful existence in which their children are thriving. How can parents effectively communicate and collaborate for the well-being of the kids, even when they don't get along?
Yeah, I love this one. So, just because you're mom or dad does not mean that you're an effective caregiver, right? This is a job. This is a job. It has a title, it has a job description, there are roles and responsibilities. And we need to get out of opinions and judgments that we are the perfect exception, the perfect parent. The reality is that there is no right or wrong. We're all trying our best. And so if we can acknowledge that the other side, though may not have the same perception of how parenting should be, that they are neither right or wrong, just as we are. But if we stay focused on what parenting is, what it is to be an effective caregiver, so that we can stick to facts and have evidence if we need to escalate that in a formal way. So, what that is that we are here to provide as caregivers safety and security, stability for our children as it relates to their social, emotional, and physical well being. And this is where we need to meet, right? What are the goals of the children as it relates to our responsibility as caregivers, so that when we talk about the children and any improvements that need to be made, or if we have to escalate in scenarios where there is high conflict or endangerment or, some escalation required there, that we can do it in a way that there's facts and evidence so that we can have people and enlist professionals to support us, and that we can effectively stay in our own lane and manage our own homes the way that we perceive it to be best, acknowledging that our children now have two different homes to learn from. They can decide what actually suits them best as they start to evolve through their journey.
Of your level-headed approach to all of it. Now, I know that you approach divorce as a project, and you've got a resource that you want to share with our listeners.
Yes, I would love for anyone that this is speaking to. The divorceprojectplanner.com is available to you right now. This is a resource that absolutely helps you to become informed, have clarity, and to be able to really start to be able to move forward in an interim way, making the very best decision for yourself and your family right now. When we know better, we do better. And this is a learning curve, right? So the more that we move forward with a very specific path and plan, we build the competency that gives us the confidence. And this resource is step number one to have that roadmap to get to the end.
All right, we're going to put a link to the Divorce Project Planner in the show notes. It's divorceprojectplanner.com. We're also going to show notes your book, which I mentioned, you being an author. Your book is Make Lemonade by Transforming Your Life Through Divorce. Tell us a little bit about it.
This book is very exciting. The single greatest feedback I get from people is, OMG, how are you talking about my life? That I also am hanging off every word, knowing that this is exactly where I am, and knowing that if you did it, if I can see myself in you and that you were able to do it, so can I. This book is about who I am and the experience that I had, and how I first for myself uncovered and stepped through all of the strategies and learning, healing, grief, and allowing myself to dream again. So, this is really a personal journey about how I was able to rebuild my life through divorce.
Again, it's called Lemonade by Transforming Your Life Through Divorce. We will put the link in the show notes. Alicia, thank you so much for your insights today. Powerful stuff in a very short period of time.
Tracy, thank you. I love what you do.